Institutional philanthropy and central planning do not cure community isolation, they actively manufacture it. Modern state and philanthropic apparatuses replace mutual, reciprocal community care with top-down aid. This system turns citizens into administrative deficiencies, stripping away the social connections that actually keep people safe. In this framework, the intervention itself becomes the crisis. Consider the Pruitt family of Barnatuck Bay. They lived on a small island by choice. When the bay froze over one winter, they weren't in distress. They were well supplied with preserves and perfectly comfortable in their isolation. The winter would have passed without incident. But in his 1937 parable, E.B. White describes how the mainland suddenly remembered the family was out there. The Pruitts became an object of concern, and that concern required a condition to attach itself to. Because the mainland could not mobilize around a family that was simply well, a rumor arose that one of the boys had appendicitis. This manufactured emergency provided the necessary justification for a rescue. The intervention followed a rigid internal logic. Aerial drops led to medical teams, which brought press attention, which summoned even more intervention. Each competent, defensible act became a step in a chain that systematically destroyed the family's way of life. And then the bay thaws. The ice goes out on its own schedule, resolving the condition without assistance, long after the rescue had already proved lethal. The intervention disrupted a functional system and replaced it with a catastrophe. White's story captured a historical hinge point. In the 1930s, care moved away from living among neighbors in settlement houses and toward public assistance administration, a system based on jurisdictional categories rather than relationships. This created a new operational reality. Bureaucracies cannot process or map well-being. They only recognize a community when it is defined by what it lacks. Look at this IBM punch card. In this system, deficiency is the format in which resources are released. To secure a budget, an agency must produce a deficiency census that translates human lives into account of the ill-housed or the ill-nourished. This creates a perverse incentive. If no crisis exists, the apparatus must generate one. Otherwise, the resources remain locked on the mainland. Real community resilience depends on psychological safety, the ability to take the interpersonal risk of asking a neighbor for help. This requires an obligation to give, an obligation to receive, and to reciprocate. Institutional aid breaks this loop. Because help dropped from above cannot be reciprocated, it stops circulating. It becomes a commodity that administers stigma rather than building a bond. Current reporting metrics ignore this social decay. They track operational throughput, how much was dropped, while the informal networks underneath are quietly hollowed out. This counter tracks the success of the intervention. It reports a positive number of survivors and services, creating an illusion of progress. But look at the informal ties underneath. As the institution occupies this space, the community's ability to care for itself drops to zero. We manufacture success by counting the throughput of our interventions, while remaining silent on the informal life they drowned. The Pruitts chose their apartness, but many neighborhoods today are made to dwell apart through the imposition of redlining and the removal of local capital. Their isolation is not a preference, it is a structural result of being remembered only when it is time to be saved. Because top-down aid acts as a commodity that prevents reciprocity, the remedy must be a transfer of assets. We must move from funding the temporary relief drop to funding the local deed. Ownership gives a community the capital needed to build their own promises, rather than remaining clients of a mainland rescue. A mainland that only remembers a neighborhood in order to save it has not yet stopped imposing upon it.
You are young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in life, in love.